Hello everyone, welcome back to House TM. My name is Jake House, and let's just jump right into it. Okay, so today we are painting some Reaper Bones miniatures. These are the Skeleton Guardian models. And here I'm just showing you that I'm using a Craftsmart paint in gray as my primer, and just some whatever paintbrush I have laying around. So I am very much an amateur when it comes to painting miniatures. My experience comes from watching a couple people on YouTube and also splashing in my understanding of painting terrain. So if you're new to, I'd highly recommend you do some research on paints and models and just dive down that rabbit hole because ooh-wee, it is deep. I'm just painting this whole mini gray as my primer coat, so my other trash paints can properly stick to this model. I didn't record the critical step of scrubbing these models with dish soap. Wow, words. Seriously though, don't skip this step. If you don't scrub the invisible mold release chemical off of your Reaper minis, your paint won't adhere properly and you'll rage quit like I did the first time. Now I know people are going to have a lot of things to say about my choice of primer as well as my choice of paints. This is what I'm using as a primer. I've used a Citadel black spray paint before and I just had really bad luck with it on my Reaper Bones. It gets tacky. My paint doesn't seem to stick and adhere to the spray paint for some reason. I don't know if that was just because it was early on, I didn't fully wash them with soap and water and get all that mold release agent that stays on those Reaper Bones off before I started painting it. It's very well that I totally forgot to do that. I've heard online that people using a cheap gray paint like this as a primer works really well. That's what I've been doing and it's been okay. And I would love to upgrade to some like Vallejo primer at some point, but until try it out, this has been fine. Now, I spent some time staring at these and tried to visualize a color scheme, and wow, who would have guessed I painted the bones an off-white dirty cream color, or in the case of the paint I just put on the wet palette there, an unbleached titanium. I did air quotes there, that's not a real color. This is the closest I have to a bone-like color, but you could easily just mix together some white and brown and pray or something. Aside from expanding my growing collection of undead miniatures, I wanted some icy themed skellies for two main reasons. First off, Icewind Dale, woo! Snow stuff, yay. Yay, yay. But also, I've been having a ton of fun playing Frostgrave and wanted to expand my snow-themed stuff. Snow-themed stuff. You'll see how I did this later in the video if you weren't paying attention to my sick intro I made. Skelly Boy here looks a little pale, but fret not. He'll look like an old sack of bones once we brown wash him up. Okay, here's where things get wild. I'm gonna glue some sand onto our Skelly's shield, because what the hell, no skeleton in the frozen waste walks around with a perfectly pristine sword and shield. Nah, it doesn't happen. It's gotta be like rusted and covered in dirt and have that regurgitated from a rust monster kind of feel. So yeah, sand. I'm sure someone somewhere is like, rust monsters don't actually eat metal, they just absorb it through their pores or something. But let's look up the anatomy and digestive habits of rust monsters. Ready, go. You're not going. Come on, Jake, focus. So here you're likely wondering why I'm adding more glue on top of the sand. Well, Johnny, it's because the glue helps to seal that sand in so it doesn't fall off later and ruin my tender love and care and countless hours I poured into making these look a step above mediocre. Yeah. I only jest. This step was totally a risk and I had only a small idea what it was going to look like once the glue dried, and look at that. It actually looks pretty decent. Nah, who am I kidding? That looks great. I'm just going to throw some more primer on that sand, so it will take some brown paint in a later step. I'm not much of a bard, but if I made you laugh at some point in this video, you could totally pay me by clicking that like button. Toss a coin to your DM, oh valley of plenty. I'll stop, I promise. This Liquitex Burnt Umber I'm using is definitely a real pain to get to the right consistency. It's either too chunky or too watery, and the right spot is, well, it's a unicorn. It doesn't make it any better that I use this color a ton on my other minis, but what are you gonna do? Alright, I'm moving on to some metallics here, and I like to water these down a lot compared to my other paints because the metallics seem to stick to themselves and clump up, just like the brown paint. I also use a different brush now, as one of my friends mentioned that the metallics will actually get clogged up in your whiskers kind of and cause your brush to do all sorts of weird curly things. So I'd rather have that happen to a less expensive brush like the one I'm currently using. Here I'm demonstrating some level 99 painting angles. And now I'm getting that sandy section on the shield and the sword to be that brown. Alright, it's coming along nicely. And not really liking how it looks, I decided to ruin it by adding this bronze color. I think that something about the silver and brown just needed a little bit of bronze in there. I realize the bronze I have is an awful looking color, and also it just needed a lighter color on that dirt, so let's mix in some gold. Yeah, that'll do it. In all seriousness, there are a couple techniques here, like that belt buckle and some of the details that I'll deal with on the hilt of the sword, where I just kind of take a deep breath and breathe out slowly while I'm painting those really hard to hold your painting hand steady spots. And at least for me, that really helps to steady my hands while I'm painting. You'll see I'm gonna do this on the belt there as well. You know, if you slip slightly, then you go over onto the cloak and then you gotta touch it up, and that's not very fun. Cool, on to the second risk. Grab the prettiest hot glue gun you got, and we're gonna do the thing to make this Skelly ready for both Icewind Dale and Frostgrave. Body icicles. Yep, I am literally putting hot glue onto multiple areas on this mini with the hopes that they will look like icicles. And I do this by squeezing the tiniest drop of glue out and then teasing it downwards. Then I heat it up with the tip of my glue gun to break off the strings so it looks like ice and not webs. So I've already messed up because I haven't put my washes on yet. What's going to happen is the clear glue is going to make a kind of no wash zone, and you'll be able to see the white of the skeleton's bone through that glue compared to the rest of the model once I put the wash on. Now, you don't have to make my mistake, and you can put your washes on first before the hot glue, which is the proper order of operations I recommend. And the last step before I put the wash on is to just paint the base black. Trying to do a little bit of a dry brush here, but it doesn't really matter anyways because the base is going to be snow. And here it is, completed pre-wash. I'm pretty happy with how those icicles look and how the shield and sword ended up. So let's go ahead and darken it up with these wonderful magical Citadel washes, the Agrax Earthshade and Nuln Oil. Those two are just, oh boy. I'm applying the Agrax Earthshade to the bones on our model here, so they have that ancient brownish hue look to it, and I'll save the Nuln Oil for the weapon and armor. I always love this step. It feels very much like the first time I applied boiled linseed oil to a wood project. Just mwah, instant talent. Oh, I just love how that oil goes into the rib cage. I'm sure there's some technique out there for getting the right amount and having realistic shadows and whatnot, but I don't know how to do any of that. Maybe I'll look into it and educate myself some. Alright, now I'm actually curious what these Citadel washes are made of. They seem so thick compared to the Black Magic Craft wash I made. That stuff's just like water. Alright, feeling good about how the skelly looked at this stage, I decided to try to make some fancy glowing blue eyes with a sewing needle. Yeah, this is a terrifying process because if you miss, then your terrifying undead creature will look dumb. And I don't want him to look dumb. It looks pretty cool. Pretty scary. Spooky. Spooky boy. So I'm just taking a lighter tone now and also a smaller needle. I recommend you get a smaller needle for this one. And you just poke in the same spot, but the larger one will kind of give in that shadowed blue look. And it'll look great. It'll look great. And I just went back and touched up a little bit on the spot that I wasn't very happy with. And look at that! Spooky boy! And the last step here, I'm just taking some blue and really diluting it and painting these icicles on its body just to have a little bit of a blue hint, a little blue hue to it. Yeah, it looks great. Wow, these turned out way better than I was expecting them to turn out. You can like literally see through the icicles on this. That's so freaking cool. I don't know how I feel about putting hot glue on miniatures, but honestly, these really did. These worked out great. Also, I struggled a lot to paint these. I normally will do the whole like lean back and hold it up to your chest and paint this way. I just get better stability that way. Painting a miniature with your hands out like this in front of a camera and trying to like get it in the shot is really challenging, and I don't know how people like paint on their elbows. You have elbows of steel, my friends. So if you have comments or suggestions for my painting skills, I truly welcome them. As I said, I'm learning how to do this, and painting miniatures is not easy. So now at long last, come, let me tell you a story of a rogue and a wizard. An echo of hastened footsteps and shouting bounces around the chilly hall. "Come on, Arden, they're right behind us," says a haggard young man hoisting a leather satchel over his shoulder. "You think I don't know that, Francis? Take a right up ahead. I believe there's a chamber there where I can buy us a moment." The wizard-like being limps down the hall when... "Arden, they're right behind us. Hurry up! Just get that door open," Arden proclaims with frustration. "Ah, come on then. I got it." Francis opens the door just as a horde of undead walkers come running down the hall. They rush down the hall just as Arden makes it inside. Francis immediately slams the door shut. Less than a second later, a cacophony of clawing and bashing can be heard just beyond the door. "I can't hold them back for long, Arden. What are you doing?" "Absolutely fascinating that they know exactly where we were," Arden ponders, much to Francis's dismay. Arden!" "Oh, hush now. Just give me a moment." The wizard pulls out a small wooden box, flips it open, and takes a healthy pinch of gold dust out. "Hold the door, Francis." The wizard's words seem to echo in the chamber as he flicks the gold dust into the air and places his hand on the door. "There. That spell should hold them. Now, Francis, grab the bag and help me up these stairs. We've got some work to do." Thank you all so much for watching. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and ring the little bell icon. It really helps new YouTubers like me grow, and it would mean so much to me if you did. So, thank you. Also, for those of you who live on the west coast of the grand old US, please be safe out there. Be strong. We'll get through this, and may tomorrow grant you good fortune in these times. Catch y'all later.
He's gonna move forward and Skelly's gonna be like, blah, 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 and makes an attack. Oh god, that beats my armor class. Oh god, I think. Oh god. Oh god. Okay, I'm okay. Whew. However, let's see. How many more skellies spawn? 2 more skellies? Oh jeez.